by the sounds of it, Don and Stanley, he understands. I've got to keep my old man sweet. I keep my old man sweet. I'm still in. Tony he has pedigree. He has history. He has success with other fighters. Whereas for Don, the most successful fighter today is Daniel.
Do you like him going in against Zhilei Zhang as part of a rebuild?
For Daniel Dubois.
For Daniel Dubois.
Perfect. You know, he's a good fighter, but he ain't great. Everybody knows that Zhilei Zhang is like the bridesmaid, but never the bride.
Are you pleased to see Tyson back, Johnny?
He never went anywhere. Tyson's had a rest. Now he's had a word with himself. Thought, oh, okay, I've had my little pity party.
We haven't seen the best of Fabio Wardley yet, and that will bring out the best in Fabio Wardley, because in Fabio Wardley's mind's eye, he's saying, right, I've got Tyson Fury in front of me, the guy everybody's talking about.
He's got fast stance, even though he doesn't look the part. I just think
he gives us it for him?
No, I think he gives them all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. You're going to pay fighters behind the paywall that when they get to a certain level.
Yeah.
He was naive in a lot of situations, and his approach in regards to how he dealt with fighters, the networks he was working with. 2 shows got cancelled with the BBC before they even put a show on. Why was that?
Welcome to episode 156 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. No Paul Smith today. He was seen leaving the building last week with Tunde Ajayi, but hasn't been seen since. But we're joined by 2 former champions of the world, Johnny Nelson and Duke McKenzie. Fellas, nice to see you.
I saw that show.
Did you? Yeah, we all saw it. Yeah.
No one's seen Paul.
No one's seen him since, absolutely. Let's jump straight into the heavyweight division. We've seen a recongregating or a re-amalgamation of Don Charles and Daniel Dubois. Maybe a bit of a surprise. We had Don Charles on the show the other day, but we also spoke to Daniel Dubois earlier on my show with Jim White. Let's have a listen to what Daniel was saying.
Just sit down, had a meeting and family meeting, and just thought, like, because I've had the most success with Don, you know, we decided to do that U-turn because, you know, we've had the best nights with him, and, you know, I feel like he knows me. He knows me as a fighter and as a person, so it just makes sense to go back, and we've had a little break, and now I'm ready to get back to it.
Daniel, can I ask you, why did you split up in the first place?
I think it was just everyone needed to go away and think about things, really. It wasn't even a deep thought-out thing. We just, a quick, rash decision might have been, I don't know, but what I can say is that I'm glad we're back together. I'm glad I'm going to be working with him again, and you know, he's the right guy, right heavyweight trainer for me. I've just scratched the surface. I've still got more bundles of more inside of me I'm going to drag out and climb to the top again, get my belt back. So, yeah, that's what we're on at the moment.
You've been with trainer Tony Sims in the meantime. He said he and you just didn't seem to gel. Was that about right?
Yeah, you could go with that, yeah. I feel like as the person I am, the character I am, Don is going to be right for me. You know, Don's the right guy, and I'm glad we've made that decision now. It's time to move forward with him. He will help me, I will help myself, and, you know, get back to the glory days. That's what I'm on. That's what I really want to do, get back to the glory days.
Let's hope so. And when will we see you in the ring again? When do you hope to fight again?
Hopefully soon, maybe in a couple months now. We've been talking about fighting, so maybe in April or something. So I'm just weighing out a bit now. You know, about to start cancelling, so all systems go ahead now.
And you have a name of an opponent, or is it too early?
Too early. I can't say at the moment, but we're working on it.
There's been talk, Daniel, of Fabio Wardley. Would you relish an opportunity to fight him? Yeah,
definitely. I'll do whatever it takes to get to him and get my belt back, man. They've been keeping it warm. I want to get my belt back, so wherever it takes, I'm going to get it back.
Obviously, we had Don in the other day, and we sort of gave him the opportunity to speak his mind about it, and he was quite diplomatic about it all, wasn't he? Disappointedly diplomatic about the end outcome, that he was currently out of the camp. He's now back in. Do you think it's a good move?
I think it's a good move, certainly for Daniel Dubois. I think that, you know, what Don done with him, not just inside the ring, building his confidence, but outside of the ring as well. You know, I think that close relationship that Don Charles built with Daniel Dubois over those few or couple of years that they were together was quite important for building Daniel as a character, as a person. I think it's a good move. You know, I think that Daniel wanted to go out there and search for what else was out there. But if you look at the history of Daniel Dubois after defeats, and you go back to Martin Bowers, you know, and then he lost his first fight with Martin Bowers. He changed to Shane McGuigan. Then he had a short time with Mark Tibbs. Then he went with Don. So it was not a surprise to Don Charles after the defeat that Daniel may go searching for something else.
You spoke to Don since the announcement?
Yeah, I spoke to him earlier on today, actually. I spoke to him yesterday as well. He's very pleased about the whole situation. He's happy to get Daniel back. He said, look, now I can set out to achieve what we wanted to achieve. Yeah, we lost the fight to Alexander Usyk, but we're talking about an all-time great here. You know, let's accept it. We just weren't good enough on the day. But he still believes that Daniel, at this age, at this stage of his career, he can still go on, improve and progress. And I think he's right.
Well, he certainly said that, didn't he?
The relationship with them two, Simon, is very good. You know, if you look at what Daniel Dubois is looking for, Don Charles does fit that bill.
Well, we'll see. I mean, before I get into Johnny and Duke's opinion, we had both Sam Jones and Don in the studio recently. Now, with differing views on certain subjects. Let's have a listen to them, and then we can pick the bones out with Johnny and Duke about what these two boys said. Have you established order in the space?
It's not about, honestly, I promise you, it's not about establishing order. It's about, it's not going to happen again. They did it before the AJ fight. It worked. He looked $1 million. Happened in the Usyk fight. It didn't go to plan. It was the wrong thing to do. Everyone, we just
all signed up for that, have they?
We just move.
Everyone's
forward.
on that page.
Yeah, it's
Father's
just,
on the page.
It's not going to. It's not. I think you'll see a more. There'll be no big entourages.
Then conversations been had where you say, listen, let the trainer be the trainer, let the manager be the manager, and you be the father, because sometimes his father's involvement overturns the manager or the trainer.
I think that's blown out of proportion. Honestly, I think that.
It's not blown out of proportion.
No, I do. Like,
but it's not though.
When we've discussed opponents now going forward, it's all of us together.
There's nothing I can categorically look at you in the face.
Yep.
Yourself. There's nothing that Sam Jones is going to change. When he said that there's going to be no more gatherings, there's not going. When we get given a fight, we will sit down and discuss. This is what we've always done. This is what every outfit does. From my observations, Daniel needs his father close by.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, it really does.
We've seen that, yeah.
Okay, right. Irrespective of Mr. Sam Jones coming here saying this is going to change, nothing is going to change.
Do I have a different jacket? When you look at the dynamic, Johnny, do you see it gelling well between, say, Don and Sam Jones and the reincarnation of a relationship that seemed to work well for Daniel, then Daniel jettisoned it? Let's not lose sight of it. Don was told he wasn't wanted, and now he's been brought back into the fold. How do you see the dynamic playing out now, reintegrating him at the same time as working with Sam?
I think in this game, loyalty is everything. And I'm surprised Don has been so trusting and forgiving to actually say, come back and be as loving and giving as what he was in the first place with Daniel. Because if he's done it once, it means he can do it again, as in leave him. And he will have been hurt when Daniel made the move and Sam Jones has now come on board, singing and shouting, making all the noise that he has to make. That's what his position is to do. I agree with Don. He'll have no say in regards to how Daniel carries on about his business. You've got to speak to Mr. Stanley. You've got to speak to the old man and do it that way. So by the sounds of it, Don and Stanley, he understands, I've got to keep the old man sweet. I keep the old man sweet, I'm still in.
Do you think
Don was very respectful afterwards, and I couldn't understand why he never threw anybody under the bus afterwards.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because when Don came in the studio directly afterwards, and you remember this,
yes.
Don was not happy, and I spent some time without necessarily asserting myself in this conversation saying, just be careful what you say, because opportunities for you may come again in the future. So don't give the media what they want, which is you spitting feathers about the manner in which you might have been treated. Just perhaps keep your own counsel, say within reason what you want to say, but don't leave anything on anybody because it might come back and bite you. When he came in the studio the other day, he was very pro-Daniel on everything. I'm not suggesting he was being sycophantic, but everyone that we picked for Daniel to fight, he went, walks through, Fabio Wardley, not even
So
a
the
fight.
deal had been done.
I don't know whether the deal had been done, but Don's perspective was that he was disappointed with how he'd been treated, felt it was unfair, but he didn't serve anybody up. Do you think anything's going to change in the dynamic?
Nothing will change at all.
Nothing
So
at
you
all?
had to address it because if he didn't address it, then you'll know he's been turned down. So he had to address it. I think in regards to moving forward, he'll do exactly the same again. But he's now wary that this could happen. He's now wary that the dad, he drives the bus. The
But they must
the
have come
boss.
knocking back on his door. I mean, is that the right assumption?
I'll tell you one thing with Tony Sims. The reason, my personal opinion, why the reason why he's not with Tony Sims, because Tony will take no.
Well, that's
He'll
what I was
take no
think.
And
yeah.
so I think you stay at the gym,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work here. And so that being a back and forth, say you want me to train your boy, that's my job. Get out.
I think
That's why I think he's back.
I think
there.
at the time of the split, Don was very happy to let Daniel go and search for something else because he said, look, listen, he'll soon recognise that what we've got here and the way that we work and with the involvement of Stan, love it or not, and that is a talking point, and people will talk about that, but he's here, and that's his father, and that's his sort of comfort blanket.
he's learnt to
Daniel
work with
likes
it.
that
He's learnt
in
to
there.
work with
It's
it.
always been that way. It's very unusual.
I think we're rewriting history. I don't think Don was as philosophical about that. He was very happy to let him go on his own way and find his journey back.
All right, let me rephrase that.
I take your point.
He accepted.
I take your
He
point.
accepted.
I take your point.
That he was going to go, but he said there was always a chance. Hence why he was being diplomatic. That Daniel would come back
well,
because
it's always
he
better
felt
not
that he
to-
built that relationship and not just built him as a fighter, but as a person. You go, and then that's happened. The door. So
It's
he
always
left the
better.
door.
It's always better
ajar.
probably not to burn relationships,
Yeah.
specifically if you're not captain of your own ship and you might need relationships in the future. Probably not better.
And this
to
is
burn
what
them.
Tony couldn't afford because Tony he has pedigree, he has history, he has success with other fighters. So therefore, if something like the last fight happened on his watch, it would affect his reputation. So he's like, no, this is my reputation I'm dealing with. So he's just one fighter. Whereas for Don, the most successful fighter today is Daniel. So he's thinking, I've got to hold on to this and try and hold it down and build up my
Well,
style.
I think it's a well-deserved bringing back into the equation. Duke, I wanted to ask you about. The suggestion is that the next cab off the rank is Zhilei Zhang. Do you like that fight? I mean, we've heard a lot of who he might fight and who he might not fight, but do you like him going in against Zhilei Zhang as part of a rebuild?
For Daniel Dubois.
For Daniel Dubois.
Perfect. Zhilei Zhang would be the perfect opponent for Daniel Dubois to get his confidence back.
Yeah.
I mean, Zhilei Zhang's, he's a good fighter, but he ain't great. And that's the sort of fight that Danny would obviously look to boost his stock, get himself back on track, and if he gets a win, then he's right back in the mix, and then it's a question of where does he go from there. He will need, just my opinion, 2 or 3 fights before he starts talking about Fabio Wardley. Again, that's just my opinion. Because, Fabio Wardley's not an opponent. I keep saying it. He's a world champion.
Not to be taken lightly.
No, you can't take him lightly. And he's nobody's opponent. He's a world champion in his own right and a very good one.
Because when we talked to Don, Don was incredibly confident about anybody that Daniel Dubois would face. I mean, obviously put aside Usyk because we've danced that dance, right? And we danced it twice and it's been answered conclusively. He couldn't answer the questions, or maybe he didn't want to, about the idea that Daniel didn't execute at the moment in that first round when we saw Daniel having Alexander Usyk in the corner, and that was the one moment you think it's where Usyk doesn't want to be. He's going to let his hands go, and he didn't. He didn't quite address that, but he talked about the game plan didn't work. We just came up against a better fighter. Everything we wanted to do, we were executing at certain times, but we didn't get to the point where we could really take ourselves into a situation where we could make an impression on this fight. He talked about Fabio Wardley, easy night's work. Easy night's work.
Really?
Obviously, easy night's work is his actual expression.
That would be a real big mistake if they think he's easy or it's going to be some kind of a soft touch. Wardley, he doesn't mess about. Wardley will either take you out early or take you out late. He's very much on the ascendancy. As a champion, he's still there to prove himself as a champion. And that would be an absolute blockbuster of a fight.
Why do you think Zhilei Zhang is the perfect situation?
Well, because everybody knows that Zhilei Zhang is like the bridesmaid, but never the bride.
But he can whack.
Oh, he can whack.
I think it's a tough fight.
I'm not saying it's not a tough fight, Johnny. It's a tough fight, but it's the one that he can definitely win. Do you see what I mean? Because Zhilei Zhang doesn't have the greatest stamina in the world. We've seen that before. He blows hot and cold in fights.
Yep.
Gets to the halfway mark and looks totally disinterested. So if he doesn't get him early, then he's going to be in all.
And we
all
saw
sorts
from
of
Zhilei
problems.
Zhang something we hadn't seen before, which is what Kabiel did to him.
Yeah.
Which is we've seen Zhilei Zhang go into fights with Hrgovic and other fighters and create havoc to some extent. Joe Joyce obviously pretty much finished Joe Joyce's career to some extent, didn't he, on the rematch?
Yeah.
But we never saw, I don't think I've seen Zhilei Zhang get hurt the
with
way
body
he got
shots,
hurt
right?
by Ajit Kabayel.
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel's that sort of fighter though that would target the body as much as Ajit Kabayel. Like he's historically a good body puncher and he breaks fighters down like that. But I think with Daniel Dubois, the reason I think Zhilei Zhang's a good opponent as well is Zhilei Zhang's feet are very, very slow.
Slow, aren't they?
His hands are quick and he punches when his opponent punches. That's where Daniel's got to be careful he doesn't get too greedy. But Daniel, athletically, is better than him in every department. I think he's just got to be smart and cute. The game plan, he's got to execute the right game plan.
I think that fight for Daniel, pace is the key. If you take the pace away from Zhilei, we've seen, take the pace away from him, that's it. He runs out of steam.
He's empty, isn't he?
So Daniel's got to go in there with a consistent belief and pace from round 1 all the way through, and it might finish around midway. But otherwise, Zhilei Zhang, fast hands, try and hold him down. Daniel's unbelievably strong.
What Kabayel did to Zhilei Zhang was hit him early to the body and hurt him early. And then he went into a bit of a shell.
He got dropped as well in doing it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But he went into a bit of a shell and didn't want to come out of that shell. And that's the blueprint. It's been laid, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if Daniel Dubois follows that, you would expect him to win.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm assuming that Daniel isn't too diminished by the defeat against Alexander Usyk in the same way that potentially Anthony Joshua would have been as diminished by the clear out that Daniel Dubois did of him. If and when he beats Zhilei Zhang, where would you direct him next, Duke? Where would you think it was the next stepping stone for Daniel?
Dave Allen.
That's way too far back.
That's a step down.
No,
really?
Mate, it's Fabio Wardley next after that. It would have to be Fabio Wardley.
I do Fabio Tyson, but
I think
that's
why
not a step
Dave Allen?
up.
No, I just think he needs to get the rounds. Because if he goes in straight away with Fabio, I'm telling you now, it's going to be disaster.
Duke, I don't think he's that character, mate. He's not like different fighters have different mindsets and different mentalities. Like Anthony Joshua's a guy that if he gets defeated, he needs to rebuild that confidence. Daniel's not that guy. Daniel would have forgot about that.
It's like a goldfish.
In a heartbeat.
Gone.
He'll go in and out. He wants Fabio Wardley, he wants Tyson Fury. Like you go... I'd give him one fight, Zhilei Zhang. I'd put him straight in with Wardley.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, we all want the big one straight away. We all want to jump straight back in.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I don't think having a Dave Allen fight is going to benefit him going into...
What would you think of Gassiev?
Yeah, good shout. Gassiev, Dave Allen, somebody of that nature, of that... Do you see what I mean?
You keep saying Dave Allen, but to me, you've got to work in one that Dave Allen has admitted I'm at this level here.
Yeah.
So to me, Daniel will be going down to go up. No disrespect to Dave Allen.
No,
so
I understand that.
If at this stage in your life you want to be going up, picking opponents that are going to take you up there.
But I just figured if he wants to get the rounds under his belt,
Or Tony Yoko or something like that, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a better bet?
That's a safe fight. They got to keep it safe and keep it strictly professional.
Nowhere near a Coley.
A Coley? No, even a Coley. Because he's not a mover and a shaker. Yeah, but, he's not good with his feet. Quick hands, but not good feet.
I'm a pro stinking out of joint, and I think a Coley, if you fight him, you're either going to look bad and lose or look bad and win. So really, Coley's in the club. I was in that club, so I know what it's like.
Don't you think that would be a good domestic fight, though?
It would be, but again, Coley's in a position where people are avoiding him, and he can take it because they're scared of him. They're avoiding because either way they're going to look bad because he's very unorthodox.
I meant the Dave Allen fight.
Dave Allen
and
Nah, I don't. Man.
No,
I don't. Listen, I love Dave.
Domestically.
I love Dave, but Daniel wants.
Yeah, I think his level's below that, Dave. To be honest,
but that might give him the kick up the backside he needs to see just what he's got. We don't know what Dave Allen's
Would you say
got.
it was a gimme then? Would you say him fighting Dave Allen would be a gimme?
You've got to see how he performs against Zhilei Zhang. You've got to see what Daniel Dubois turns up, how he performs against Zhilei Zhang.
As I say, I think he's got goldfish mentality, Daniel. Daniel's like, he's forgot about the losses.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's back on it again.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, we're gonna see, aren't we? We're gonna find out.
I can't quite see the trajectory between going to Zhilei Zhang and then going right and down to fight Dave Allen. As much as I'd like Dave Allen to get big paychecks and get all the plaudits for being in the ring, I don't see that opportunity. What I do see is Tyson Fury re-emerging. And the suggestion is he's going to fight Makhmudov, who obviously at one point, until chopped down by our mate Ajit Kabayel, was the beast in the division to some extent in people's minds, certainly over the week, frighten you in an alley, wouldn't he? Do you see, are you pleased to see Tyson back, Johnny?
He never went anywhere. Tyson's had a rest. Now he's had a word with himself, thought, oh, okay, I've had my little pity party, I'm back in the mix again. Yes, because he's the biggest character going out there, like it or not. He's the one that's the loudest. Look how long he's been since he's been in the ring, but everybody's talking about him now, running the streets of the Philippines or wherever he is.
Yeah.
And just that conversation, say Tyson's back. So now, what is he going to look like? Does Tyson Fury still have the legs? No, I don't think he does. But he has the experience and the wisdom more than all the boys that are there at the moment, and he has the character to beat most fighters before he gets in the ring. So it's a case of who they put him in with. I'd have said Fabio. And that's a proper phoenix out of the fire.
Yeah. I think Makhmudov is the perfect opponent. The reason being because he'll get a few rounds with him, but more importantly, he will see exactly what he's got left at that level. Because Makhmudov is the gatekeeper, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I go like boxing Fabio Wardley, going straight into a Wardley fight. You go. Like Duke said earlier in the show, once you become champion, it elevates you to that next level. You know, he's now believing he's the guy with the target on his back. He's not chasing anymore. He's going to be a handful to beat by any heavyweight, Fabio Wardley. And I think that for Fury, it's got to be calculated. And I think Makhmudov is the guy that will give him that test.
Because we all wrote Makhmudov, didn't we? We thought that there was a distinct possibility that Dave Allen was going to chop him down.
Yeah.
And we saw him obviously lose to Agit Cabiel, and all the sort of lustre went away. You know, he lost again. And then got a victory and then went in against Dave Allen, and he was far better and had far more about him than people were going to give him credit for, which is probably unfair on the assessment of him. Does he give Tyson a raft of problems in that fight, or do we just see Tyson being able to, class-wise, ease past him without too much of difficulty?
Stylistically, he's perfect for Tyson.
Yeah,
just because he comes forward. Yeah, he's very strong, but Tyson's smart, man. You speak to any heavyweight, Tyson's boxing IQ is off the scale.
And aesthetically, it looks good because he's a big unit. So Tyson popping and beating and roughing up Makhmudov is like works from a treat.
We've heard Tyson also say that he wants to fight Fabio Wardley in the summer. When you look at that fight, Duke, how do you see that one playing out? If it were, I mean, we're creating these fights, they're givens.
I'd like to see it because you know, we haven't seen the best of Fabio Wardley yet. And that will bring out the best in Fabio Wardley, because in Fabio Wardley's mind's eye, he's saying, right, I've got Tyson Fury in front of me, the guy everybody's talking about. And if I can go out there and I can blow him out of the water and look good doing it, he would be so up for that fight. That's not the sort of fight. As I keep saying it, Simon, Fabio Wardley's he's not a comeback fight.
No, I hear you. I mean, when you say we haven't seen the best of Fabio Wardley, I mean, I thought the performance against Joseph Parker was... I mean, I went to the Justice Hooney fight.
Good fight. And
I like Fabio, and I want him to be successful, and I get tired of all the backstory being brought out every single time Fabio goes into a fight.
Yeah.
And the only fight he was expected to win was the Justice Hooney fight. And he got away with one there, didn't he? I know they'll say, Frank will say, well, that's what it's there for. The equaliser's there to do its job, and it did the job. If Justice Hooney had been a little bit more savvy and carried a little bit more power, then there'd have been all kinds of problems for Fabio Wardley, and we wouldn't be looking at him as a world title holder because of the circumstances he fights in. But when we talk about Fabio stepping in against Tyson Fury, surely, irrespective of whether Tyson's been on a long layoff, Fabio must need a fight in between that win against Joseph Parker and potentially going in against a Tyson Fury, mustn't he, Spence?
Absolutely, and he gets that fight as well. I spoke to Frank Warren about that, actually. Spoke to him yesterday, and he said, look, Fabio Wardley, they've got no opponent named yet because there's so many names flying around at the moment. You're talking about, you know, your Zhele Zhang, Daniel Dubois, and we've got Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder. Alexander Usyk now is being paired with Andy Ruiz Jr. So, like, all the names are being taken up. You go, where does Fabio Wardley, the world champion, sit? Frank says April, early May, he definitely boxes, so he's out. So, yeah, he will have that fight before possibly a fight with Tyson Fury. If Fury comes through against Makhmudov and he comes through his fight, that, I believe, will be the fight after that.
It's a fight that could easily be made as well.
I believe that.
And I agree. I don't think Fabio's anywhere near the finished article. He's nowhere near. He's still, so as a world champion, he's still got a lot of learning to do. So therefore, he's got to go through a lot of experiences, shapes and sizes of opponents. But he's nowhere near that. Like, he's top of his game. I don't think so yet.
When we talk about Tyson coming back, and obviously there was never any doubt in anyone's mind, really, that he was going to come back, do we see all roads leading him to another world title, Johnny?
Deservedly so, yeah. Why not? He's a perfect
Deservedly
scout.
so?
Yeah, because he's been a world champion before. He's ticked every single box. For the young guns up and coming, looking at Tyson Fury, the guy that's been beaten by a very special individual, he's a perfect scalp. And for Tyson Fury and the governing bodies, they'll think, right, you know what? You are still up there amongst the dangerous crew, so we will give you... He deservedly gets...
And you're bankable, of course.
Pardon?
You're bankable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the challenge that, to some extent, Fabio has had, I suspect, in the reaction from Usyk in terms of the reasons why Usyk hasn't fought him, because the bankability of Fabio doesn't carry the same traction, does it?
That's Usyk. Usyk's problem is, who does he fight next? So there's
And
all
get
these
paid.
young guns coming out, but who brings the biggest bucks in? And that's why he was talking about fighting Wilder, because Wilder still has had some pound notes at the end of his name. If he gets turned over again, those pound notes disappear. But there's no other big names out there, money names out there for Usyk to fight, to say, right, there you go. So that's why your Moseses and your Fabios, you'll say, nah, I don't need that.
Well, we'll get to Usyk in a minute, but one fighter that, obviously Frank Warren's got to keep a load of balls up in the air because he's got so many fighters that are in that division. So he's got his challenges, isn't he? In terms of keeping his fighters apart, albeit you think the ideal
challenge to have, though, isn't it? Like, because he's in a situation where you go, someone like, let's say, Daniel Dubois, who's just lost his world title to Alexander Usyk, you go, Frank can afford to put, like, say to Daniel, right, come on, I'm going to give you another huge opportunity, but it's a sort of sink or swim situation. Like, Frank can afford to do that, as opposed to what Duke was talking about with, like, the rebuilding process, giving him 2 or 3 fights. You don't really need to do that now, and sometimes the fighter don't want that.
I know he's established.
Yeah.
Fabio's established. All the fighters we're talking about, they're all established. And when they're in world title fights against one another, it all looks good. But then when somebody gets bumped off, everybody deserves to be brought back.
Absolutely.
The right way.
So, but what I'm saying is, at what sort of level you go? Like, do you they can get brought back against a very good fighter. Like, that's what I believe. That's what I'm talking
but out
about.
of Frank's heavyweight stable, who do you think has the most pulling power with Frank? Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah,
So Tyson Fury will then say, right, Frank, I want him.
This one.
So
Yeah,
these
that one.
fights can easily be made because Frank's got all the marbles. So if Tyson Fury wants Fabio, he gets Fabio.
But it must be an interesting one for Frank because he's got a duty of care to each one of his fighters, not just his bank balance, right? So ultimately his job will be to guide Fabio Wardley in the best opportunity to be able to have some longevity as a world title holder, as well as get paid. And surely it can't be in Fabio's best interests to be fighting Tyson Fury as early as it suits Tyson Fury.
I think that Fabio Wardley, he said himself, like, he openly welcomed that fight.
Well, he will do, won't he? Because he's a fighter.
But what I'm saying is that...
But it's Frank's job to guide him.
Yeah,
It's
but...
Frank's job to
Moses Atoma would fight for a world title tomorrow if he was allowed.
If Tyson shouts loud enough, he's getting it.
Yeah, but you've got to understand it's about timing as well. And you go, Tyson Fury, he's not the fighter he once was. Yeah, he's still a top-class fighter, for sure. But I don't believe that he's at the level that he once was. It's a
fascinating dichotomy.
Timing could be perfect for Wardley.
Or maybe the best move for Frank would be, so the only fighter he's got to really listen to is Tyson. So maybe, and realistically, how much time has he got left with Tyson at world level? So he's got to get rid of him. To say, right, I'm really done. And then all these fights that he's got, he can dictate to him, you were there, you were there.
Where they go.
So
pieces,
maybe get him in there, behind closed doors, hope that Fabio beats him. So you're out of the way now. I don't have to listen to you. Right, boys, I'm controlling this puppet game. And that's what could probably work for Frank.
I'm going back a second. Any merit in Daniel Dubois fighting David Adelaide?
David Adelaide. Good comeback fight. It's a good comeback fight. Because if like I say, once you sort of clean up the domestic scene, or what you call fringe contenders, then the next obvious choice then is to fight for a world title.
I don't mind that fight, to be fair. I think that
Just out of left field.
That's not a bad shout. David Adelaide.
Does it sell?
Huh?
Does it sell?
Well,
I think it sells. Because listen, one thing you can guarantee is an explosive fight. I think that
it would
with
go.
what's going on in the heavyweight division right now, there's eyeballs on that for sure.
Sure, it happens 100%.
one fight that appears to be made is April the 4th, which is Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder. That's done now, is it? Riddle me this, riddle me that with Derek last week. I couldn't make no sense of it. He wasn't being represented by Queensbury. Frank says he is. He's having a negotiation with a promoter that he doesn't have. Is it a goer? Is it a likely outcome? And if it is, where's it likely to be?
I don't think anything's changed. I think that Derek Chisora said after the Otto Wallin fight, 2 months after the Otto Wallin fight, that contract had expired. He's a free agent. Yeah, he was talking with Frank about making certain fights. Then all of a sudden, this Deontay Wilder fight's popped up. April the 4th is the rumoured date. And you go, Wasserman is the rumoured promoter, Wasserman and KSI. Sky Sports box office is the rumoured... I don't know, this guy might be able to tell us a little bit more, but Sky Sports box office is the rumoured network that it would land on. So, look, Frank Warren seems to think otherwise.
Sky Boxing got his subscribers left?
They've got 1 or 2 left. Good shot. They've got 1 or 2 left. They've got a few moves up their sleeves. I think with that situation there, I think that just looking at from the outside in, I think the problem is this Frank situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Frank's basically, so once they sort that out, whatever the conversation is, that'll be the thing that gets over the line. So I think that once that's sorted out, Derek said this is what's happening. Then Frank might just want a piece of the action one way or another.
Sure. What's the direction of travel for Sky? Wasserman, Zuffa? Can you see any of those?
I gather there's conversations been going on, but don't quote me on it. I gather there's conversations, but I gather the appetite's still there, which is good. We're still on the dance floor.
I'm hearing MVP Promotions is one of those promoters that could be, and that sort of makes sense with Sky because I know they were very heavily into the women's boxing.
Yeah, and MVP.
And I'm hearing Wasserman as well.
That'd be good, Johnny. You can have a bunch of influencers sat next to you commenting on boxing.
Oh, please don't do that to me. But listen, at the end of the day, I think, of course, they're still on the dance floor, so that should happen. I think the promoters that you've mentioned, yes, I hear the same thing as you guys do. I'm not in the office, so I hear and I speak to a lot of the promoters. So hopefully we'll see how it rolls out. We'll know within a couple of weeks.
Right. What's going on? What do you make of the Chisora Deontay Wilder fight, Duke? You like that fight? Where do you think that one's going?
It's a good fight. They're both at a crossroads, aren't they? They're both Derek Chisora.
Do you think he's done, Wilder? I mean, he makes a big song and dance. I mean, he came back from wherever he was with a kumbaya moment and never been the same, right? He now tells us, with all due respect to his personal life, that it was situations in his personal life with his wife and all these sort of things. He went off to some camp and came back with a different view, didn't he, of life? He now is impressing upon us that that's now gone. Can you see, as fighters, former fighters, what we saw in the ring against Zhilei Zhang, what we saw in the ring against Joseph Parker, was no real resemblance of what we'd seen before in terms of the ferocity and the intensity. Can he get it back?
Yeah, and Johnny would say, and it's probably Spencer. Have you been divorced? I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
we all
I know I have. I don't know if you have.
It's expensive and it hurts.
But once
it makes you all quit,
once
man.
you've been through the mill, as I'd like to say, that can really affect your performance, and it can really just turn everything upside down. And sometimes you never get it back. But in Deontay Wilder's case, as he's publicly stated, his personal life was in turmoil.
Yeah.
And he's had counselling. He's what a lovely man, by the way. We met him in Dubai. He's a real nice guy. But he's, once his private life had all been laid bare in public, he didn't look the same. And then he said he was trying different things. He was trying to box more. Deontay Wilder isn't a boxer. He's a puncher. So if he can put all of that to one side and get back to being Deontay Wilder, the bomb squad Deontay Wilder, then he could be...
Who's his coach? Who's his coach now?
Well, it was Malik Scott, wasn't it?
Is he still with Malik?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if he's still
So
with him,
when I saw him box, I thought he looked like a frail old man. He's 40 years old. As a heavyweight, I think once it's gone, unless you can get yourself a certain pace to work at, like your George Forms, or work at a certain pace, but it's consistent, it's painful. As a heavyweight, if you can't, all of a sudden you go downhill rapidly. And he just looked frail. There was no snap in his shots in anything. When he got hit,
that as a direct result?
Yeah,
it could be. And when it's gone, it's gone.
I'm just saying.
40 years old.
Yeah, but like when you're going in and out of court probably with his ex-wife, and when you've got kids and you've got dependents and all the rest of it, you can't get that out of your head. You sit down in the corner and round 6, round 9 or whatever it is, and you're facing the judge in your head, and you're going back to reflecting on all the things that you've been going through.
He said in Dubai, like, he's a great salesman, if
great,
anything else, because he was talking about this betrayal and everything else going in his life, and he said, when that first bell rings, and he goes, and you'll know as fighters, you go, if you've left some stone unturned, straight away, that self-confidence, that self-belief that I had, when I knew that I'd done everything I could, he goes, and that's why I'd go in there. He said, crept straight in. So he said, before the first bell, I'm thinking, I've not done it. So like all of a sudden it's becoming a negative performance. We know he's technically no good.
Yeah, sure.
We know that
he's not a boxer. He's not a boxer.
Yeah, technically, he's not great at all.
No.
Let's have it right.
So
if we get very heavy-handed.
There's no debate, though, is there, about that side of things? It's always been the power and the ferocity that he contained that caused the damage to the fighters that he fought, until he reached the level of Tyson Fury, and that level was too much for him. If we've got a Deontay Wilder that's somewhere along the line back to where he was before, and Derek Chisora coming off a back of series of decent wins, right? What kind of fight are we going to see? Are we going to see Derek win this fight?
Great fight.
It's a great fight.
It's a really good fight.
I thought both these guys should have retired last year.
Yeah.
Where they were in their career, but for this fight now for Derek, because we were talking about 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was so dangerous for him. Now I think this is a fight against Derek could win. And because of the levels they're at, the styles would clash well, but I just think it's a fight for Derek to win.
And then it'll be Derek won't retire, and it'll be a series of opportunities for Derek to manifest outcomes. And listen, it's his life, it's his health. He can do as he wants, can't he?
He's going to have his own problems if he doesn't retire after this.
I know he said that.
I
know he said that.
Etc. But yeah, look, he'd be in a position if he didn't do that. He could madly be in a position here if he beats Deontay Wilder. He could be in a position to fight Alexander Usyk again. That is where he pretty much is.
And he gave him a load of trouble in the first fight.
He gave him.
Yeah, there's so many fighters that can find themselves in that position, but again, it's about Usyk. He's going to look on who gives me the most money.
Yeah.
Who puts the most money on the table.
Well, that leads me into Usyk, and it's been suggested quite significantly that it's Andy Ruiz. Can you make head nor tail of that? And what do you think of that fight?
I think he's split up with K2 Promotions now, his long-time promoters, and Alexander Krasiuk, who was his long-time manager.
Yeah.
He's doing it on his own now. He's been out there speaking Zuffa Boxing, TKO, looking to build an audience. Looking to build because he's looking to build an American audience. And Andy Ruiz Jr. is the guy that maybe fits the bill for him in this fight, because with Alexander, I think he's widely said this himself. He wants to beat everyone of this era.
Yeah.
Andy Ruiz Jr. is a former world heavyweight champion. He wants Alexander Usyk. He wants Andy Ruiz. And let's have it right. They're very easily winnable fights.
Yeah, of course.
So it sort of makes sense.
I don't think Ruiz is, He's got fast stands, even though he doesn't look the part. I just think...
You think he gives Usyk trouble?
No, I think he gives him a hard time.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think he's tough. I think his appetite changed once he got the AJ money. That was it. his head had gone.
Yep.
But he's been wealthy enough now to get used to being wealthy.
Yep.
So hopefully that appetite's come back again. He's a dangerous handful. And that's why he's in the Who Needs Him club.
You two boys have been world champions, and we've watched Usyk, and the one thing that we always alight upon with him is the quality of the man. He's a class act. Every time he's in a room, he's a class act. Usyk. Yeah. What have you made of his behaviour since the fight against Daniel Dubois? Because he made a big deal, and rightly so, about Anthony Joshua affording him a fight back in the day that created all these opportunities. Of course, his talent created it as well. But Anthony Joshua, he was very grateful for Anthony Joshua giving him a shot, which then created all the outcomes for him, which he's built off the back of and has become the superstar that he now is. Yeah, he's denied Joseph Parker an opportunity, which has created his own set of problems for Joseph Parker, which he created for himself as well, of course. But Joseph Parker takes a fight against Fabio Wardley that he doesn't need to take, potentially, when he should have been having a world title shot against Alexander Usyk. He's not been available to have fights. What do you make as former world champions, given the quality of this man and these achievements, about his behaviour over the last 6 or 7 months?
I don't see anything wrong in his behaviour, Simon. I think he's earned the right to pick and choose who he fights when he fights, and
but holding on to belts, though. But holding on to belts.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a deliberate ploy. I don't think it's deliberate. He said to himself, I won't vacate WBO, whatever it is, WBC belt. I don't think he's done that deliberately. I think that's just the way that's panned out. I think given the chance...
merit, when you look at the calibre of the guy fighting Andrew Ruiz, I get the dynamic that he wants to perhaps introduce himself into America. But there are other people like Cabiel that are well worthy of a shot against for a title.
But they're not known in America. That's the problem.
So the thing is,
I think so. No sporting merit for the guy that
what I'm saying,
his whole career on sporting
Anthony
merit.
Joshua went over there to fight Jake Paul, didn't he? And he was hardly recognisable.
A whole different set of scenarios.
No, but what I'm saying is that I think for Alexander Usyk, it's about building his profile in America. Yeah. Andy Ruiz Jr. has a profile in America, whereas someone like Cabiel will have zero profile.
I think Usyk's one of the few fighters that is bigger than the belts. So you might say, hold on, he could give those belts up now. Alexander Usyk, as far as even the layman is concerned, he's top dog. I think for Alexander now, he's at the point of walking away, and he's like, it's a business decision now. Who makes me the most money?
Yeah.
Because he's proved it all now.
Yeah.
So even though you might think his attitude's changed, his attitude's changed to say, I've done it all, I've climbed the mountain, now I want to go to America and get a mad payday against somebody, because, believe it or not, Anthony Joshua's probably more wealthier than he is.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury's more wealthy, and this guy's beaten them all. He's done so much, but he's not been at the top of the tree winning big money, making big money to
Is Andy Ruiz? I mean, again, I don't want to be...
Tyson Fury, not Andy Ruiz.
I don't want to... Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to be mean-spirited about Andrew Ruiz, but I don't see him as being big money for Alexander Usyk.
He's a familiar.
He's an American, isn't he? And that's the market that Alexander Usyk wants to break. He's the American market.
Yeah.
And there isn't any... I don't know any other bigger named American fighters for him to fight.
And let's understand the outfit that he's speaking to as well, which is Zuffa Boxing, Dana White, and
Yeah,
Turkey
sure.
Al Sheikh. So the money
The
will
money
be
will be there, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Before we leave the heavyweights, let's just briefly touch upon an opportunity that looks like it's presenting itself to Johnny Fisher. That going to land for him, is it, in terms of a shot against, I'm assuming, Jamie TKV?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it will land for him. He's coming off a win now out in Monte Carlo, and he was hurt badly in that fight as well. And you just go like, where are you going to go with it? Now, listen, it's a great opportunity for Johnny Fisher. For Jamie TKV, equally, it's a great opportunity to defend your belt, the first belt, against an opponent. You go, Jamie TKV, off that last performance against Fraser Clark, you go, he starts an overwhelming favourite against Johnny Fisher. So it makes sense for both sides. It's about Johnny rebuilding his brand and rebuilding his profile and getting an opportunity against Jamie TKV. And Jamie TKV saying, that's the opponent I want. You know, I think that like if you're picking opponents, you go, well, Johnny Fisher, like in the situation he is right now, coming off that knockout defeat and then getting wobbled badly in his last fight as well. You go, there's a lot of question marks over
I think
him.
for TKV, it's a perfect opponent. For Johnny, it's a great opportunity. He knows his limitations. He knows he might. You know, I think at one point in his career, he could become a British champion, but nothing more than that. But this is a good, from TKV's point of view, it's a good choice.
Do you think Johnny Fisher beats TKV?
No.
No.
I know, no. But he has he has time. Listen, one loss doesn't mean it's the end of your career.
Sure.
He's going to learn another knowledge. It's just a case of who's champion at the time, or if it's a vacant belt.
It's a good fight.
Yeah, it's a very good fight.
It's an opportunity that Dave Allen will perhaps be looking at, thinking, because he made a big deal about wanting to win a British title, talked about his father and ticking that box in terms of making his father proud. And that's now disappeared from the radar for him because he chose to take the Mahmoudov fight, didn't he? And obviously people get built up into mindsets. Johnny Fisher was built up after the first fight against Dave Allen, which incidentally I think he lost as well, and got rudely exposed, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a distinct possibility, as much as I'm not an admirer of a lot of Jamie TK's work, I think he is a level above Johnny Fisher.
I think that Jamie TKV, Johnny Fisher, that fight, if that fight does happen next, I think that probably the winner of that would probably box Dave Allen next anyway, because I think that's where the landscape would sort of lie. Like, Dave Allen is very much in that mix. I think he'll probably get the winner of that one.
Can I ask you, and a change of subject, about what you guys think about this reincarnation of Boxer and its relationship with BBC? There's a characterisation that because they've had a couple of difficult moments in terms of, I think the first fight that they put on was Fraser Clark, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the staging of it and the whole ambiance looked a bit second rate.
It was a good fight, though. I enjoyed the fight.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting the fight didn't have its moments. It wasn't the greatest fight, but in terms of the staging of the event and what you're used to seeing, it wasn't at the level that people anticipated it was going to be at. You've now seen the Adam Azim fight pulled off. Is this relationship and this incarnation, we've had Ben on, and we'll listen to him in a second, but is this a bit of a disaster that's happening here, or is it not?
It's not been the best start, if I'm totally honest. You know, if you're looking at it from a production point of view, like I say, I thought the Jamie TKV Fraser Clark fight was a good fight. Production, when you're looking at it and you're going, it's all about making a statement. It falls into that Zuffa Boxing sort of that we saw on Saturday night, which we'll get into. It falls into that sort of bracket. You go, right, this is you're making a statement. You're bringing terrestrial TV back into the mix here. Let's see something. But I think from the production side of things, I go, it didn't really tell me anything that I've never seen before.
Sorry, Johnny. It was. Don't you think he needs time though? He needs time to build his platform.
You've got to make a statement, haven't you?
So the problem, this is where I have a problem. The problem is he was with Sky. Is the BBC. How long are you going to take to get to learn from your experiences and learn from you? We all make mistakes. Eddie made mistakes. Frank made mistakes. They've all made mistakes in the past, and then they've learned from the mistakes.
That's exactly my point.
He was a promoter before he was with Sky, so he learned up to a certain point. Got to Sky. He learned got to a certain point. Now he's with BBC.
Put a pin in it for a second. Listen to Ben Shalom. We'll come back round in a circle.
Our job is to put on 50-50 fights. We want to put on big fights, and that means it can go either way. Fraser Clark, Jamie TKV did 1 million viewers on the BBC, which is no one can even compete with that. No one can even compete. Jamie TKV has just changed his whole life and whole trajectory. Callum Simpson, Troy Williamson did 3 times what they normally get in that slot on the BBC. You've got to look at it where on a Saturday night, what else could be on the BBC? If boxing can beat the typical entertainment shows consistently, that's where boxing is at.
But Ben, you came on the scene as a disruptor, potentially. Is free-to-air really and honestly where you want to be?
Absolutely. And of course that's disruption. This is about putting boxing in mainstream homes, not hidden, not behind paywalls, and no disrespect. what DAZN do in particular have done a phenomenal job, but what we're doing, putting boxing back on the national broadcaster, I don't think any other promoter could do that. I don't think any promoter would do that.
How are you going to pay fighters?
That's my question.
Behind a paywall, that when they get to a certain level, if it's not behind a paywall, because he's going to see Joe Blogs fighting on pay-per-view, getting paid ridiculous money. And so how's BBC going to create a paywall?
Well, aren't they the incubators? Aren't BBC in exchange for a content delivery mechanism which gets boxing shown on the channel? Alex Chelsky gets boxing on BBC that he probably wants, right? Aren't they going to be an incubator which accepts that at different stages boxers are going to move up through the levels? They're no longer going to be prospects, they're going to need to be paid for, and then Ben brings out a pay-per-view model which then facilitates the outcome for those guys. So the BBC potentially get used a little bit to be, but then again, I
They sort of tried that with the ITV though, didn't they? Back in the day, they tried that a few times with ITV, and that didn't work.
So as a business, does that work? So you're giving your platform to build somebody up, knowing he's going to leave you once he's up there.
Well, I guess it's all based upon the exchange of money. If you're not paying huge amounts of money in the first place, what do you expect in return? There's a balancing act, isn't there? I mean, do you like the idea of boxing on terrestrial TV, or do you think that ship has sailed in terms of the way
I'm old enough to remember that's where it was. And then Sky came along and
changed the game, changed the rules of engagement.
Completely changed the game. So that's where it was. So
I won my first world title on BBC on, I think it was a Wednesday night when it was BBC with Harry Carpenter.
Yeah.
You know, and the audiences, you know, you had like a big audience because it was free to air television. And if Ben Shalom can recreate that, then he's going to create a whole new audience. He said he got 1 million people watch that fight.
I still can't play for ITV.
I think the big problem that Ben is looking at here is, he's got terrestrial TV, which is brilliant, but the landscape has moved slightly. That more kids now watch, YouTube and online stuff. So taking that out of it, though, I think the biggest problem Ben has is getting that star and building that star. Because that is the thing, because when you have a star, or a kid that has star potential, in this day and age, right, they want big money straight away. And is that money there with the deal that Ben has with the BBC? I mean, only he knows that. But I think the biggest problem is holding that kid. He's got him to build him to that level.
The model that he talks to, which is obviously part and parcel of the commercial thinking, Johnny, has to be pay-per-view. Otherwise, he's fighting against everyone else and what they're doing, and he'll be alone in a room, and he won't have the best fighters because they'll go where the money is in the end. Has he got anyone in his camp that suggests that he can start to build out a pay-per-view stable?
So back to the original point, how is he faring? So he's had the experience up to this point. So now he's got to learn from all the mistakes from the experiences to make the most of what he's got.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Callum's just been turned over. There's Lauren Price that's available. There's Adam. And there is two big stars thus far. The others have got to come through. And so, and if they walk away,
You've got Adam Azim, haven't you?
Yeah, that's from Adam Lawrence. So if they walk away to get behind that paywall because they think, I want to be there, my guys that are my opponents, people I think I can beat are getting paid twice as much, there's a possibility they'll walk away. So it's how he's going to conduct that business. And I just don't understand how it will work on the BBC to keep those big...
When you say mistakes, Johnny, I mean, I want you to be indiscreet as you possibly can be. But when you look at Ben, I know him well, you know him well. And I also think the gun was slightly loaded against him with certain people's attitudes in Sky and certain legacies that were left behind by other people. When you say mistakes, what mistakes do you think Ben has made in the relationship and the opportunity and the platform that he had with Sky?
Well, it's something that he can't avoid, was the naivety. He was naive in a lot of situations, and his approach in regards to how he dealt with his fighters, the networks he was working with, which is why I'm assuming the deal with Sky no longer exists. So now he's on with the BBC. 2 shows got cancelled with the BBC before they even put a show on. Why was that? You know, because it wasn't down to the BBC. So something wasn't falling in place. Something wasn't right. Something he'd not fact checked on. So this the naivety of it. But you can't keep being naive to the point where you're not learning anything from your past mistakes.
Yeah, but he would have learnt from that, though, wouldn't he?
He should have learned from that.
Yeah, but he would have learnt from that by now. Yeah. And you would expect going forward his next few shows to be absolutely marquee, even if it is a domestic fight. You know. It's going to be good. You know, Dave Allen against Jamie TKV would be a good fight to put on the BBC.
Do you think he wasted the opportunity, Ben, with Sky? Do you think he was? You do.
I do.
Why?
I think this boy had the keys to the kingdom. I think
even with Sky's changing attitude.
I think he had the keys to the kingdom. They give this young unknown man to most people in boxing. the keys to the kingdom. And so he had an opportunity to make so much of a difference because he wasn't involved in the bad blood with other promoters or whatever. He was like a fresh face coming along. So I think that it's unfortunate that he didn't take...
Do you think they helped him enough? I mean, on the outside, you've got the Saudi phenomenon came along at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Saudis and Frank was in, and Frank was the orchestrator of the Saudi opportunity, and Eddie didn't miss a beat, and he was there. And with due respect to those two boys, they did what they should do, which was they didn't make anything easy for Ben.
Because it happened to them.
Well, sure, it did, I'm sure. Back in the 70s when Frank was trying to punch his way into the division, Mickey Duff and Terry Lawless were making his life very difficult, weren't they? And Jarvis Astaire and whatever else. But do you not think that some of the circumstances that Sky could have possibly been more facilitatory and helpful in a young promoter trying to find his way through, battling against the old guard that are sitting there well established, against a new phenomenon that's coming in? Do you not think that possibly Sky could have been going, right, I tell you what, we're bringing in a bit these are the mistakes that you're making. These are the judgment calls that we think are poor.
Sky, as far as
or is that
I know,
not their job?
Sky is a company. Boxing is 2% of Sky's overall platform. So therefore, if they bring you in to say you're the promoter,
you've got to take care of. You've got to provide problems, not solutions. You've got to provide solutions, not problems.
There you are. So bring it in. Get the job done because we think you can. You've pitched it to say you can do the job. So do the job. So it's not Sky's problem to make it work for you. It's you.
No, I hear that. I agree with you. Let's move on to the weekend. I'm fascinated by this fight, and I spent a bit of time with Josh Kelly, and I've spent a bit of time trying to pronounce this fella's name, Spence, who is fighting for the light welterweight. Murtazaliev. Murtazaliev.
All right.
How do we see this fight? I mean, I like Josh Kelly. I'm gobsmacked that he was playing paddle tennis with me last Friday on the week before a world title fight, but he was there with his trainer, so I'm assuming they know what they're doing.
Come on, give us the result before you carry on. Who won?
It was a round robin, and Josh did very well, and Adam did very well, and Adam was very pleased with himself.
He went right round here.
Still didn't say who won, did he?
Yeah, no.
He won, didn't he?
Well, there was about 4 different games. Adam won more than he lost, which is very rare for Adam because normally he loses and he's absolutely useless, but he's gotten better.
Well, the conversation I had with Adam Booth was that he kicked his ass. That's what he said.
No, really?
Last time.
Not true at all.
Well, that's what Adam Booth told me.
Not true at all, because Adam played with me and we won one of the games. And if I was that concerned about the reputation, I wouldn't have put Adam Booth on the phone to you, would I? I would have kept that at a distance. But let's go back to the fight. This is a difficult fight. Josh, I think, is feeling very confident, and so he should be. He's not going to sit there saying to me he's not confident. Yeah. But he's got a task on his hand, hasn't he?
He's got a massive task on his hands. You know, Murtazaliev is a tough guy. Undefeated in 23, 17 KOs. Quite an awkward guy to box. Exceptionally long reach. He throws shots from sort of awkward sort of angles, but he is a little one-dimensional. Yes, he's very heavy-handed, and he has a great engine on him as well. It is a winnable fight for Josh Kelly, to be fair. Never going to be an easy night, that is for sure, because he's a good champion. But it's a fight that I can see. Josh Kelly seems to, like, he's one of those old-school sort of fighters, like he's out of the Ingle gym, isn't he? Switch hitter, it, good head movement. It could be his night.
Yeah, I think Josh is a brilliant fighter, brilliant technician. But I also think Josh has, if he's not on top, I've seen him break before.
Right.
And that's the only thing I worry about, because I think technically he's brilliant. I think Adam Booth's outstanding. But I just think it's just that there, if he's not on top, which way would he go?
Here's the thing, and this is factual. Yeah, we have seen him break before, and you've seen him gas out and run out after 6 rounds against.
It's a fashion how it happens.
That was at welterweight, and I think that I think that he was struggling desperately. I'm not making a defence for him because he still has to go out there and prove that, but I think that as a super welterweight, he has been a different fighter. I think his engines look different. He's looked stronger, and that could be the difference. I think that's struggling a little bit too much.
And Spencer, that's what he was saying to me previously, or last week when I saw him. He was saying he feels very comfortable this way. I was talking about this kid's power, and he's going, "Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that." And do you know? Obviously, you get a sense of bravado, and I like to think I can read somebody. There was a very assured, confident, let's have it sort of mentality from Josh Kelly.
Yeah, but that could be the wrong. That could be the wrong attitude to have, because he's going in against the proven.
But that's Adam's job, isn't it?
Don't get me wrong.
No, but also Josh Kelly is that fighter that's what he gives off. He is this confident kid.
He's a brash kid. I like that.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But he has to proceed with extreme caution because this kid can punch.
With respect, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
he will
can
do, and I think
punch.
that's Adam's job to make sure that he's aware of it, isn't he? I think Josh is in a very strong frame of mind. I think he's been through some personal circumstances, whether that's divorces himself, and I think he feels very clear in his mind as to where he's going. And I like him for this fight, and I'd like to see.
Oh, I like him for this fight.
There's people that don't know Matazelli, so Tim Zhu we all know, don't we?
Yeah.
Justice Zhu's
Yeah,
son,
we've seen him, haven't
incredible
we?
fighter.
Yeah.
He went out there in his last fight and he absolutely
Saw it.
obliterated him.
Yeah.
Flattened him,
I saw it.
had him over in the first, over in
Yeah.
the second,
Yeah.
out cold in the third. You go, that's a serious fighter. Tim Zhu's a serious fighter.
Yeah, he can fight,
And
no
the way
doubt.
he dismantled him, that's a worry that he sort of throws a check hook when you're punching. He punches
lets
with
it go,
you.
yeah, sure.
And that's the danger that he doesn't get too greedy, he doesn't sit there too long because Matazelli will punch with him. And that is a danger for Josh. He's got to be careful, he's got to be switched on.
You remember Dalton Smith's fight?
Yeah.
So Dalton Smith was a smarter boxer, but he decided at some point after the second round to stand there and think, I'm going to give it you.
I've got to bully the bully.
And so maybe maybe
they've seen something there.
He's got to bring it out. Got to bring it out.
I mean, that's interesting because we felt that when we saw Dalton, didn't we? We felt that Dalton had thrown everything into that fifth round, and if he had to go much longer in the fight, he was going to have a world of problems.
the same.
Whereas Dalton himself, of course, he probably would say this, said absolutely not. I had loads left.
I think what he recognised, Dalton, weren't it? Like after the first round, you go, right, it's not working on the back foot here.
Yeah,
after the second
No,
round,
no, but what
it's definitely not working.
I've got to go
And
and do it.
fire with fire.
Yeah.
And he sort of he stole the other guy's heart.
The problem for Josh is going to be that he doesn't gas out outboxing this guy. So therefore, he's got to pace it well because he'll really outbox him. He'll have the movements, he'll have everything going for him. But then all of a sudden he's going to think, I'm a bit tired. This guy's got me at pace. So then he's got to stand his ground. And that's where that check's going to come out.
We've got a bona fide super fight on the weekend, haven't we? We've got the WBO super lightweight title fight between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson.
Can't wait.
Despite Ben Shalom telling me unreservedly that the generational talent in this division was Adam Azim, as it sits, which I found difficult to compute with Teofimo Lopez being in the conversation. This is a great fight. How do you see this one playing out? With Paulie Malignaggi was on the other day talking about he felt it was Shakur Stevenson's fight to win. I've got a feeling that Teofimo Lopez, I think his performance against Arnold Barbosa was outstanding. I like him. I think he keeps on surprising and disappointing in equal measure at times.
Yeah.
But this is a super fight, isn't it?
It is a super fight. And you know what? And rightly so, Shakur Stevenson might start this fight an odds-on favourite because he's Shakur Stevenson, you know, the next Pernell Whitaker, the southpaw, the slick southpaw. But I've studied him, and you know what he does really badly, just in my opinion.
Yep.
Shakur Stevenson, he likes to sit in the pocket, right? And he goes back to the rope, sticks his hands up, and he tries to pot shot and do the shoulder roll and waits for you and throws an uppercut or a straight left. You can't do that with Lopez. You can't back off on him. That's my point I'm trying to say.
Lopez is trying to talk him into a tear-up. He thinks he's saying how he's acting before he needs a tear-up.
Yeah, and Lopez has already laid... The blueprint's been laid because he beat the great Lomachenko, another great southpaw. He's beating him. So he goes into this fight absolutely fearless.
And he's
fearless.
Key factor as well. He's a freeweight world champion like yourself.
Is he?
When you moved up to featherweight,
Spence,
when
I was on one
you
there.
tried to become fourth,
Yeah, sure.
and yeah. But
I tried for the fourth.
What was the difference in that weight? Because he's jumping up another weight division as well, so he was in a similar position when you boxed Robinson, wasn't he?
Yeah. But Steve Robinson
did you?
Well,
What was the
Spence,
strength?
let me row back from that question
Yeah.
and ask it again in a second. Let's listen to the two fighters, Teofimo and Shakur, before we put that question to Duke.
You never know how good somebody actually is until you get in the ring, or how bad they actually is until you get in the ring with them. So, come fight night, we'll figure out whether he's better than Zepeda or more of a challenge than Zepeda. I know Zepeda's style.
Hold the don't try me.
Nah, I'm
Don't
just
try
saying,
me.
bro, like, you ain't fight a fighter with that kind of style yet
Don't
to
try
know,
me.
like, whether he's, that's all I'm saying.
Don't try me.
You bring a different style to the table, brother. I want to prove how great I am. Like, I want the world to see the greatness within my skill set, the boxer that I am. Like, after we get out the ring, I want everybody to be talking about it. Like, yeah, I'm that guy.
You're not gonna get that all the time. If you go for people's expectations, if you go for people's expectations on what you're gonna get after that, you're gonna always be disappointed.
Well, that sort of rapport goes to Johnny's point about where Teofimo's taking this particular fight. How do you? I mean, you've fought at 3 weights and been a world champion in all 3 weight classes.
Yeah.
Duke, how do you
I
approach?
challenged unsuccessfully for 4, Simon.
Okay,
You know,
but for the purpose of this conversation, it dovetails nicely in the fact that Shakur Stevenson's fighting for 3 weight classes.
Yeah.
How do you approach it when you go into each different weight class?
You know, a lot. Obviously, it depends on the opponent, height, weight, size. You know, whether it's a puncher you're fighting or a boxer you're fighting. That's how you gauge yourself. But for this particular fight, I just don't think Stevenson can stand off and outbox Lopez, because Lopez can do everything Stevenson can do. You know, he can box, he can move. Lopez is the bigger puncher of the two, and I believe he's mixed in a much higher class. Like, I keep reverting back to the Lopez v Lomachenko fight, because Lomachenko was synthetically the best fighter on the planet at that point. You know, beautiful boxer, had all the moves. But, you know, what Lopez did with him in that fight... He smothered him. He did every time...
But am I right that you said that when you went up weight classes, it changed you as a fighter?
Yeah, because you...
So what is likely to be changing Shakur Stevenson when he goes into this weight class, being confronted with Teofimo Lopez?
Well, he's moving up in weight, right? So he's going to feel physically stronger.
Right.
The problem is when you fight bigger guys that are physically stronger, you hit with the best shot and they blink and they come back and they kind of take your soul, because they step forward instead of stepping back. And I'm not saying, I don't think for 1 minute Shakur Stevenson's going to bottle it. He's not a bottle job at all. But, you know, that's going to be a shock to him. He'll catch Lopez with his best shot and it won't dent him, as if he can catch him, because Lopez can do... He's got all the moves, hasn't he? You know,
he does blow a little hot and cold, though. You talk about... you referred to that Lomachenko fight and you go, yeah, that was an incredible performance.
Yeah. And don't forget the Josh Taylor.
After that, when he goes and gets beat, and you just go to him, well...
Is he going to be slower, Shakur Stevenson?
He blows a little hot and cold, doesn't he?
Is he going to be slower?
I don't think he'll be slower, because like he's already said, he's moving up in weight, he'll be physically stronger, so he'll be able to fight at a higher work rate. But I don't really feel that higher work rate's going to work for him. Not against Lopez, because Lopez is quite cute, and Lopez is the one that will be setting the traps and chasing Stevenson. And if he's backing up constantly, you know, the judges aren't going to score. Well, I don't think they're going to score for that.
Lopez is going to try and drag him into a fight.
He's going to drag him into a fight.
Yeah. Who wins the fight?
Lopez for me.
I'm going Stevenson.
Yeah, I think Stevenson. I think there's more rhythm about his work, and I think that he's a little bit more consistent. He can bite down his gumshoe. He's shown us that, you know, in the past in certain fights, Sir Peter and whatnot, that he, you know, and he has that boxing brilliance. And I just think that, for me, Lopez fights in bursts, and I think that might be his downfall. I think it's a close fight, but I think Shakur may just nick it.
You look at Terence Crawford when he boxed Canelo. Terence Crawford's coming up in weight, so he had to put the weight on.
Yep.
But he had to adapt his style to beat someone that was going to stand in front of him and try and put it on him. So he negated, he moved, he slicked, he put. Now again stood there toe-to-toe and gave it back. So I think this is what Shakur Stevenson's capable of doing. So even though you're saying he fights in the pocket, he's put weight on so he can hold the weight a lot better and fight a lot better, more at a higher pace.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But like I say, I think if he gets stung and gets hurt early...
That's what we said about Crawford.
Yeah, but Crawford's an all-time great, isn't he?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but before the fight,
before
we said these physical things could happen to him.
Yeah. I didn't.
That jump up in...
I didn't. I picked Crawford.
Did you?
All day long.
OK, well, that jump up in weight, look at what difference it made to him as a fighter.
Yeah, sure.
That particular fight. I think they can...
And I'm going to go... I went down the Crawford route with Duke, and I'm going to go down the Lopez route with Duke. I think Lopez just turns up when he needs to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fabulous fight. Right, that's it for episode 156 of Talk Boxing. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Johnny. And, of course, thanks, Duke. And we'll see you next time we're out, which will be next week.